guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Now. We have been talking about the All-Star game that is well underway. A lot of the big things coming to Cobb County. Now, news to no one, vendors at these kinds of high traffic events can hike up their prices. You've seen it in places like the airport, you've seen it at sports games. So, sitting down with us is Alex Jacquez from Groundwork Collaborative. He's also a former college baseball player. He says he has plenty of experience clocking these sorts of outrageous prices. Alex, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Of course. So, we saw a report from the group that you work for called Shakedown at the Snack Counter, the case for street pricing. And one of the shocking things to me was that sometimes prices can go up about 500%. How is that allowed?
That's absolutely right. And so we found a report from an MLB reporter in Minneapolis at the All-Star game in 1985, where he found that the typical fan could expect to spend about $15 in beer, hot dogs, concessions, and other merchandise. At $15 in today's dollars, that is $5 at the time. Today, that'll barely cover a beer at the National Stadium in DC, where I am, and the cost of concessions at the counter at these stadiums, which are often subsidized by taxpayers, is really just outrageous. And they are raising their prices as high as they can, inflated ticket prices, and it's getting harder and harder to afford to take a family of four out to the ball game.
So I saw also that you mentioned these kinds of places, these venues that we go to, kind of create a captive audience, meaning that we don't really have a choice in how much we're going to spend. You want to go to the game, you want the hot dog, you want the drink, you have to pay those prices. Can you talk about how that dynamic fuels the unfair pricing that we've been talking about?
Sure, at places like airports, like at stadiums, you are often not allowed to bring in your own food and drink. Some stadiums now will allow you to bring in water on hot days. But at airports, right, you have to throw your bottle of water away before you get through security. And then on the other side, you go to the concession stand, and that bottle of water that's $2 or $3 outside the airport is now 7, 8, or even $9. And so stadiums, they know they have you. They know that if you've got a kid, the kid's going to want ice cream, he's going to want a hot dog, and they can gouge you as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, that is right. And I'm just thinking, not only do we have the baseball game, this weekend and all the exciting activities surrounding that, but Beyonce is also in town at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they actually made headlines not too long ago by offering affordable prices. What do you think these other venues could take from that moving forward?
So, Mercedes Benz Stadium is exactly the type of model that we discuss in our paper, which is that more stadiums, particularly if they're taking taxpayer subsidies, either at the federal, state, or local level, should adopt what we call street pricing. Pretty simple. It means what you pay outside the stadium is what you pay inside the stadium. Now, the Mercedes Benz Stadium did this. They adopted fan friendly pricing on their own. And if you talk to anybody involved in stadium operations, it has been a smashing hit. They actually find that they get more revenue because more families are able to afford to go to the game. They buy more merchandise and more other concessions. And so they have some of the most affordable prices across major sports, and they are getting the value from it. They are both making good money, and the fan experience is top of the charts. I will say, Truist Ballpark, where the All Star game will be held next week, also has some fairly affordable options for hot dogs and beer. But if you add everything together, merchandise, tickets, beer, hot dogs, soda, it's about middle of the pack to take a family of four to a game at a regular Braves game, about 240 bucks.
Okay, I was going to ask you about how much do you think the family should be bringing with them, but let's move on to another question. How realistic, you mentioned the street pricing. We've been talking about the gouged prices. How realistic would you say it would be to show them both side by side and give, I guess, the consumer the option then if they're actually going to pay for it right then and there, or if they're going to opt out and move on to something else?
Yeah, so I think that, lawmakers across the country, particularly at the state and local level, have been discussing options to bring down affordability when they pay for these new stadiums with tax dollars or city bonds. They are adding in requirements for that stadium and that team to serve its city or its town. And so I think either implementing street pricing, making pricing more transparent, offering deals to local residents. These are all things that have been negotiated in community benefit agreements in some of these stadium deals, as well as at airports. I think uh, the Portland International Airport is consistently the top-rated airport in the country, and it's because they don't charge $1 more inside the airport than they do outside, and that's because the city of Portland owns the concessions, and they are able to charge those low prices.
Mm. Now, I'm going to give you the final thought on this one. I want to bring it back to the people who are streaming out there with us, the real people who are going to these games and who have to spend their money if they're going to spend it. What advice, I guess, would you give to the average American who is trying to save their money? Let me take a step back because this was also a political talking point, I believe, during the election, like the hidden fees and
Yeah.
prices and the gouging and all that stuff. Okay, so now back to that average American who's going to the game or going to the concert, going to the airport. Any advice that you could give them while trying to, um, keep money in their pocket, but also enjoy while they're out and about?
Of course. First of all, you've got to make sure that you are checking for those hidden fees, for those surcharges, anything that companies are trying to do to trip you up and drive up the prices. The Federal Trade Commission under President Biden enacted a rule that went into effect this year that places like hotels, Airbnb, Ticketmaster must disclose all their prices up front. So that's a good step.
Mhm.
But also just making their concerns known. Americans are sick and tired of paying higher prices. It's been going on for too long, and I think they are not going to stand for it for much longer. So, ensuring that team owners, often billionaires themselves, who don't have to worry about a cost of a hot dog for their family, are aware that this is a concern for people and that going to the game should be affordable for all families, not just those the wealthy and the top 1%.
For sure. And we will definitely be looking out to see what our audience has to say about all of this after the weekend and the couple of events during the week are over. Alex, thank you so much for your time. You guys out there streaming with us, don't go anywhere. We're going to get you a quick break. When we come back, we will have plenty more content and news headlines for you.